Good day, everyone. I am your host, Kat,
And I am your host, Ben.
and welcome to the Diurnals Journal.
Diurnals Journal is a television segment produced by ARC Studios to showcase writers of today's generation. And the objective of this segment is to make you, the viewers, gain more knowledge about the world of literature, writing, and this is coming from the thoughts and insights of the writers we interview. So, why is the name of the segment Diurnals Journal, Catherine?
The Diurnals Journal are two different words combined. The diurnal in zoology are animals that are active during the day. And journal, as we all know, is part of writing that deals with particular subjects.
So now let us proceed and introduce you guys our interviewee for today's episode. Our interviewee for today's episode, she is a future medical technology student and will pursue medicine on her graduate studies and eventually will become a doctor someday. Let us welcome Miss Micaela Joyce Bonrosta. Hi, Micaela Joyce.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
Yes, thank you so much for having us here. So we are providing you a set of questions, and these questions are related to literature and everything about writing. Are you ready for your interview?
I'm ready.
Okay, ready. Let's have more energy. Are you ready, Micaela Joyce?
Ready.
Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, let us start with the interview questions.
So, when it comes to literature, of course, we have poetry, essays, and such. May I ask, what literary genre do you focus on?
Well, I'm currently focused more on prose, on writing stories under the mystery and thriller genre, particularly detective fiction because it's also one of my favorite genres when it comes to reading. And aside from mystery, I also like writing romantic stories because I get a lot of inspirations from the love stories that I read online.
So this is a follow-up question. Since you have said that you also write romance, are you a hopeless romantic?
Yeah, I guess I can say so.
Now let us proceed to our next question. Of course, when it comes to writing, we always have that first time. When did you write your first literary work? And what is that work?
As far as I can remember, I think I wrote my first literary piece when I was in grade 4. And I think the first poem that I made was about a crush of mine. I remember making a lot of poems back then about crushes, friends, flowers, and my fun elementary experiences. And during that time, I was really invested in poetry, while I started with prose much later on when I was in 5th grade because that was also the time that I discovered Wattpad, which is a platform where users can freely read and write stories.
I think kilala ko kung sino yung topic ng poem. At kung anong genre yung nasa Wattpad. So, for our next question, since nabanggit mo na nagbabasa ka rin sa Wattpad, so may I ask, what is your first pen name?
My first pen name was mjoycedb _05, which came from the initials of my complete name, while the number 5 represents my birth date.
Wow. Well, we also have heard that one of your pen names is Nocturnal MJ. So, so let us talk about that further. What is the meaning of nocturnal, and what made you think about that pen name? What made you came up with that?
I think I came up with that one because I'm a nocturnal person. I'm very active at night, like an owl in the background, while the MJ is for the initials of my first names.
For some people who may not notice, me and Ben have the same backgrounds while Joyce have the nocturnal one. She represents our school very well.
Yeah, and also relating to our name, the name of the segment, we are the diurnal ones here, and Joyce is the one who is nocturnal by chance. So let us proceed now to the next question. With all of the books or any literary piece that you have read and by chance reading right now, what is your favorite literary piece and why is it?
I actually have a lot of favorites in mind, but I think the most favorite one is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. It was the first book from the installment that I got to read, and I liked it a lot because the small details that Rowling puts in the story may seem irrelevant or pointless at first, but in the end, it actually plays a huge role in the plot, which gives off an unexpected plot twist. And I also like the story in general because it is like a puzzle that may seem confusing because of some details, but when you put the pieces together, it actually makes sense and it makes a beautiful picture. And it's also satisfying to read because there are no plot holes and it's definitely a story that is well put together.
Well, meron pala tayong ditong Potterhead.
Yeah, ang
So,
ganda kaya ng Harry
mhm.
Potter, no? Very popular siya sa
Yes, meron tawag doon eh. Ano yung apat na kingdoms ba yun?
Like the
houses.
four houses.
Houses pala yun. So, what is your favorite house, Joyce?
My favorite house is Gryffindor because the main characters are all from Gryffindor, but I think I'm actually a House Hufflepuff.
Since you were already engaged in writing since you were grade 4, may I ask, what is your favorite part about writing and why?
To be honest, my most favorite part about writing is not the writing process itself, but rather the brainstorming part because I feel so satisfied when I come up with ideas I can use for the scenes and plots of my stories. It's very fun to imagine how your story will unfold, but the reality is that it's actually kind of hard to put it into words sometimes. But anyway, I think what's important is that you have the idea set in your mind already, even though you haven't written it yet, because you can just freely write it anytime you feel inspired.
Just a follow up. What are your pet peeves in writing? What are or what is your pet peeves in writing? For those who do not know what pet peeve is, it is something that a particular person finds especially annoying. Like for me personally, when I write spoken word poetry, I hate tackling about love or what they call is hugot, and I hate those very cliche introductions like isa, dalawa, tatlo. That's so very gas-gas na, like how they call it in Filipino. How
How
about you,
about you,
Joy?
Joyce?
I think my pet peeves are those who write about too cliche scenes, like in the prologue, like waking up in the morning late for the first day of classes. Those kind of things. I always like a beginning that is striking and unique.
Naalala ko yung, may I share lang naalala ko nung first Wattpad na sulat ko. Si Joyce yung nag-critic and si Yvette, yung isa naming friend, yung nag-critic nung nasulat ko. And kagaya nga na nabanggit ni Joyce, it's too cliche. Like, pagkagising niya, late na siya sa pagpasok. Then, may bully and everything became worse and worse. So, ayun, napaka-cliche. So, any tips for aspiring writers na para maiwasan nila yung mga ganong cliche?
I think I'd suggest writing more different scenes because it's usually the beginning that hooks the readers. So, dapat dun pa lang bongga na yung naiisip mong
True.
ideas.
With all of that being answered, I also have a question. And of course, we all have our passions and pursuits in life. And as we have said earlier, or as we have stated earlier, that you are considering to become a doctor someday. And with that, are you also considering to become a full-time writer someday?
Well, when I was younger, I actually considered becoming a full-time writer, but I had a reality check later on and realized that there's no guarantee that I can make a living out of writing only. And one of my dreams is to become a pediatrician in the future. So I decided that I would pursue a stable career in the medical field in the future while I can keep writing as a hobby or a part-time job so I wouldn't easily get tired of it.
Yes, especially when it comes to choosing a path and then having your passions together. It's somehow a great combination because you get to be practical and also you get to pursue the things that you want. So that's very amazing.
I assume na nagbabasa ka na ba ng mga stories, and published books. So, who is your favorite author and why?
My favorite international author is Arthur Conan Doyle, and he created the highly renowned adventures of Sherlock Holmes. He's my favorite author because he's good at creating characters with solid personalities such as Sherlock Holmes, Irene Adler, and the antagonist, which is James Moriarty. And aside from gaining knowledge about how life was like before in London, I also learned a lot of mystery tricks from him, and you can really improve your deduction skills when you read his works. So I guess that's why he's my favorite. While as for local authors, my favorites have the pen names Bioch and Inksteady, and I like their stories because they always include social issues that may seem taboo to other people. But what's important for them is to open the readers' minds about the world we are living in, and that's one of the main reasons why they're my favorite authors.
How about you, Ben? Who's your favorite author?
Well, actually, I'm not fond of reading talaga. The first ever book that I have finished is The Meaning of Maggie. And sadly, I forgot the author. But the next one is I Love You Since 1982. And that was by Binibining Mia. Is that right? Binibining Mia. So
Yes.
she's a great author because she has this kind of style where there are literal plot twists at the middle of the stories, at the middle of the chapters. So it's quite great. How about you, Catherine?
I do not really have a favorite author. Maybe I forgot the author's name, like how you did. So far, see Da Vinci Code. It's Da Vinci Code. Forgot the
Dan
author.
Brown.
Sorry. Yeah, si Dan Brown. Yon. And I think we can all agree na lahat tayo dumaan dun sa Wattpad phase or yung iba, ayan, like Joyce, nagbabasa pa rin siya ng Wattpad. So, yung kay Bioch din, basa ko din siya.
'Di ba when it comes to such activities like for example, maiba naman tayo like dancing, acting, singing. Meron tayong training stage doon eh. Like singers would usually attend workshops or lessons from vocal coaches. With that said, Michaela Joyce, have you ever encountered or have experienced any workshops or any training when it comes to writing?
No, sadly, I haven't attended any workshops or training yet, even though I really want to. However, I make up for the lack of it by reading helpful writing guides. And I always feel that my writing isn't good enough yet, so I constantly ask my friends about their opinion about my works. And I let people online critique my stories so I can also have more non biased insights.
Well, that is a great point because when you get feedback from a lot of people, you get to have that insight of what to improve on your writing or such. But aside from that, we all have our own ways of writing and we will improve. And we can say during the process that we are developing and improving our writing skills. And that is one of the best things when it comes to writing. You get to know that, wow, I'm improving, you're improving. So, yeah.
So, in relation sa previous question, do you acknowledge a pursuit in life where writing is an essential aspect of it?
Well, yes, I do acknowledge a pursuit in life where writing is an essential aspect because writing has always been one of the key skills we had to learn in life, not just because it is necessary in school and at work, but also because writing allows us to express ourselves and release pent up emotions that we cannot say out loud.
Just to follow up, what are your hobbies or interests that help you to generate ideas in writing?
Well, whenever I feel like I'm running out of ideas, I always try to read other books or watch movies and series so that I can find inspiration again and be more motivated. Also, traveling is very helpful because being outdoors and seeing the beauty of nature can make you feel at ease and can also help you gain story ideas.
Yes, writing is really such a broad activity. Like it covers a lot of other activities, and it could be related to other stuff, right?
Right.
Joyce, may I ask, since nabanggit mo na you like traveling, are you team bahay or team labas? Or do you prefer being inside your house or outside your house?
Right now, since we're in a pandemic, I've been in the house for way too long. So right now, all I want to do is go outside. I'll say that I'm team labas right now.
When it comes to writing, of course, meron tayong mga unique ways of writing. As I said earlier, we all have our own ways of writing. So, for you, Joyce, how can you describe your style of writing? And do you follow a specific guidelines or any outlines?
To be honest, I think I'm still trying to figure out what my style of writing really is like because when I read the story and I get inspired by it, I tend to write similarly to how the story was written, which I don't like because it makes me feel like I'm imitating other people's writing style instead of being myself. So when I realize that I'm doing that, I erase my whole draft and think about how I'm going to write it in my own creative way. And personally, I believe that I tend to include a lot of monologues or inner personal thoughts in my writings so that people would relate more to my characters' experiences. And as for the technical aspects, I usually write in first person, although I'm enjoying writing in third person too. Before starting a story, I'd also imagine a possible ending for it first because I might struggle with plot holes in the middle if I don't have a proper ending in mind yet.
Well, that is very informative. And I also have a follow-up question since you have mentioned about your characters. There's this saying that we should love our characters in writing. What is your opinion about this saying that we should love our characters?
Well, yes, I do think that we should love our characters because syempre tayo yung gumawa sa kanila and tulad natin, hindi rin sila perfect. So, no matter what, we have to accept them for who they are. And since tayo naman yung mga author, we have the power to give them character development para ma-inspire din yung ibang readers sa kanila.
Just an additional question, Joyce. I am very intrigued about your character. So, paano mo ba siya sinusulat? Do you like your character to be just a simple character like all throughout mabait siya or yung round character like may character development like that?
At first, ganun din yung naiisip ko. Like, puro mga flat characters lang siya, hindi round. Pero ngayon, I think I'd like to make characters na talagang makaka-relate yung mga tao, na talagang makikita yung imperfections nila.
Very well said. And for our last question, what is your memorable experience in writing?
I think my memorable experience in writing was when I first received positive comments from readers online about my story. As in, yung mga hindi ko talaga kakilala. Because it really feels good to see that other people appreciate your hard work.
So ngayon, tapos na ang ating chikahan part. Gusto pa sana namin magchikahan about life and about writing. But if time would permit, sana makapag part 2 tayo ng chikahan. So, thank you so much, Joyce, for having us today. We are very, very honored to have you for this episode. And for all the viewers, please keep safe and stay healthy. Have a blessed day, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye, guys!
Bye.